Alright, so now that you've gotten the email with your macros, let's talk macros in case you're not familiar with this or kind of vaguely but not 100% sure of it. What macros is, it's a balance of protein, carbs, and fats. Now some people track calories, which in macro case you are tracking calories but with a balance of food. Here's why this is so important. A lot of diets, fast fixes, extreme diets, these I don't consider to work. And the reason for this is most of the time you are either lacking something, it is extremely too low, or something else is extremely too high. In which case sometimes plans are going to bump up the fat and keep carbs extremely low, or bump up protein very high, keep carbs low, and bring fats very high. Now this is why it's a fast fix. These things don't work. They may work temporarily, but then once you're off this diet, you blow up like a blowfish. So it's extremely important to have a balanced diet. That means you have a good amount of protein, a healthy amount of fats, and a good amount of carbs. On my plan, try to think all the myths of carbs, eliminate them. Carbs are good for you, and we will go later into explaining exactly why. But a sum up of macros are your proteins, your fats, and your carbs, and you will learn a lot now that you're tracking. You're going to see where the problem was, how little protein you had in your diet, how high fat your diet was, how you weren't eating enough carbs. Macros lets you know what you've been doing wrong, and now you can fix it. So now one of the biggest problems people have. Let's talk tracking foods, homemade as well as restaurant. What would you do in this case? I'm going to show you pasta because it requires quite a few ingredients. Now let's talk, you're single, you're on your own. The question here is, how do I track something that has many ingredients? What you would do is, I say do this separately. Unless you eat the same amount every day, then you can bundle all this together. But first you would take your pasta and you would add in 1 or 2 servings of pasta depending how much you want to eat. Take your marinara, you would add 1 or 2 servings of your marinara sauce. Take your cheese, add a serving or 2, however much you want to eat. And then take your chicken, whether it's going to be 2 chicken breasts, 3, you want to weigh that out, and you would add that. You can do each one separately, which is what I do, just in case some days, you know, I can't afford the fat that cheese is going to give me, so I want to keep this out of the meal this time. Or I want to change my sauce to Alfredo sauce instead of marinara sauce. That's why I do mine separately. But if you're very stuck on the same food, you don't really change ingredients, you can bundle it and make it my special homemade pasta. Call it whatever you want to call it. Keep the ingredients the same. And that way when it comes time to track it, you just look up my homemade pasta, add the serving size, 1, 2, 3, how many you ate. Now let's talk, you're not single. You have a spouse or a child. You can choose to cook separately from them, which I highly recommend. This is what I do with my family, but if this is out of the question for you, for some it is, then what you would do is the same thing. You would simply add, let's say for your family you're going to be using 8 pieces of chicken. You can take all 8 pieces of chicken out, weigh those, get the total amount, and write it on a piece of paper. Don't yet track it. Write it on a piece of paper. Do the same for cheese. If you're going to do cheese inside the whole pan, then track how much cheese you put in there. If you put 3, 4, or 5 servings, write that on a sheet of paper. Do the same thing with your pasta. Track how much you put in the whole pan, write it on a piece of paper. Same thing with the sauce. Write it all on a piece of paper. Then at the end of the day, well, not at the end of the day, but after you've already made your meal, take all the ingredients, divide it by how many people you are. So if you fed 4 people, you want to divide it by 4, and that is 1 serving. That would be what your macros are for this exact meal. If, again, you eat the same meal, keep the ingredients consistent, then bundle it up as family pasta or something. Something clever that you'll remember, and then just always put one serving if you keep it the same. If you are like me and you like to switch ingredients around depending on what your macros ask for, then do it separately as well. And you would just, again, divide it by 4 or 5, how many people you're serving for each ingredient separately. That way you don't add the cheese one day, it's fine, you just wouldn't track it into your app. Now let's talk restaurants. This is actually pretty simple because a lot of restaurants are now having nutrition for their entire menu. So you can either go to that restaurant, look up TGI Fridays and they have their menu, look up Chipotle, they have their menu. Almost anywhere you go. With some exceptions of restaurants that are family owned, there isn't a big chain. You can also go to CalorieKing.com if this specific restaurant doesn't have a website. CalorieKing.com is a food search. You can look up anything. This is also great for things without labels. So let's say your chicken. Sometimes chicken, you just buy the chicken breast, it's wrapped up, but there's no nutrition label on it. You would need to weigh it out and find the macros for it. This is when you go to CalorieKing.com. You look up chicken breast with skin, chicken breast without skin, chicken breast raw, chicken breast cooked, depending on if you already bought your chicken made or if you need to make it. Another thing it's good for is produce. Produce never has a nutrition label. So you can go to CalorieKing.com, look up an apple, a banana, and track it by ounces or grams. Now, if you can't find that certain restaurant or that certain food on CalorieKing.com or a website, try to keep in mind chicken is chicken, pasta is pasta. Learn portion sizes. I highly recommend that you take a couple chicken breasts out, take an ounce out, cook it, see what it looks like on a plate. That way when you go to a restaurant and they serve you chicken, you know somewhat how big the portion size is so that you can later on put it looked about 4 ounces, 5 ounces, 6 ounces. Familiarize yourself with portion sizes. Same thing with pasta. Now, if you go to a restaurant where they serve a smaller amount of pasta, you can probably assume it's going to be 1 serving. But if you go to a place where they give you this big old plate of pasta, you can easily have 2 servings of pasta. So I urge you to cook and pay attention to portion sizes the next time, say you are having pasta for a big family or for yourself, just look at the portion size. And that way going out to a restaurant, if you had pasta with marinara sauce or if it was a creamy white sauce, it was probably Alfredo sauce, you can kind of guess what it was. Guessing will have to happen when you go out and eat sometimes because it's in this case it's just a guessing game, but you will find yourself in a position where you need to guess portion sizes. Another question asked frequently is how should I measure my food, raw or cooked? This all depends on how you want to measure it. If you go to CalorieKing.com, you can find things that are raw chicken, cooked chicken, grilled chicken, boiled chicken. It'll give you those options. I personally like to do it raw, just because when you cook something, it does change, especially your pasta. Your pasta could retain more water if you let it boil for longer, making it heavier. So all my pasta is always done raw. Chicken for me is also done raw. But this is, again, just a personal preference. There is no right or wrong way to do it, but if you choose to do it cooked, stay consistent with that. And if you choose to do it raw, stay consistent with that. Because then it can get confusing in your app. You're not sure if one entry was for cooked or one entry was for raw. Okay, so let's talk about pre-planning and portion sizes. Pre-planning is so important, especially if you're a beginner. Here's why. Before you want to eat, you want to make sure to track and fit your macros. This is not about just tracking what you are already eating. It's about changing bad habits. So, for instance, if you're going to have chicken, let's say for lunch, and you do 2 ounces, and you don't pre-plan, by the end of the day, you might have needed so much more protein, and had you pre-planned, you could have added 4 ounces of chicken for your lunch, instead of being left with a lot of protein and no carbs and no fat. There's also the reaching your fat after breakfast, and you no longer have fat left for the rest of the day. This is why pre-planning is extremely important. Take time, 5 minutes, to plan out what you're going to eat. Just start putting things in, and if you need to make changes, you make changes. For instance, I'll start pre-planning. By the end of the day, I need more carbs. Okay, so look back at your day, see where you can edit things. If you need to add more pasta to reach your carbs, add more pasta. The problem is when you've already eaten it, well, you can't really just add half an ounce of pasta to make up for those lack of carbs by the end of the day. So make sure to pre-plan, change your eating habits. Don't keep them and just track them. That's not going to change you. You need to create new healthy habits, see what you've been doing wrong, and start doing the right thing. Lower your fat. Don't just keep eating high fat because that's your diet. Now is the time to decide, okay, I eat a lot of fat. Let me see how I can change that. The first 2 or 3 or 4 days, you're going to learn about your diet a lot, and you're going to have to change it. For instance, when I first started tracking, I realized my fat was ridiculously high. I didn't realize I was consuming that much fat. Had you asked me, do you eat a lot of fat? I probably would have said no, but tracking showed otherwise. Another thing I noticed is I ate a lot of sugar. Now this app doesn't let you track sugar, but be very conscious about the sugar because it does get hidden in foods. Breads, yogurts, a lot of things carry sugar that you would have never even thought about. I was not having any cheats or treats, but somehow my sugar always was very, very high. So just kind of keep track of that. There are mistakes that you have made, I have made, and we learn from them. This is why tracking and having a balanced diet teaches you so much. If you're lacking protein, then you can't build very much muscle. If you're eating too little carbs, you can't think straight, you can't build muscle on very low carbs, and you become very carb sensitive. And if you don't eat enough fat, it's very unhealthy for your brain, for your heart, for your skin, for your nails. If you eat too much fat, it's bad for your heart. So each macro does play a huge role, whether it's fitness goals or your health. I'm going to show you a little way to use the scale, just because it does make it easier. Let's say you're putting something on bread. It's easier if you take the whole container, you put it on the scale, remove the top, and then turn on your scale. Your scale thinks there's nothing on it, so it's going to zero out. And then when you go in and you scoop, the scale will tell you, it'll go into -2 grams, which means that's what you pretty much have taken. And what's nice is you can start spreading it on your bread and you won't overdo it, because if you have a nice toasty bread that warms the butter and it melts, but you've accidentally put 2-3 extra grams on it, you can't take it off. So whenever I put something on bread, I like to put the whole container on the scale. Now when you measure out dry things, you can just put a bowl on, clear it. We're going to do ounce, and as you can see, well, for all pasta, it's always going to be 2 ounces or 56 grams. 28 grams is always an ounce, so think of it like that. This app will make you use grams, so 28 grams. For that reason, let's just go to grams. So we changed it to grams. And you just go ahead and pour in. So 58, 56 is 2. Perfect. So that is 1 serving, 2 ounces, 56 grams. And then you can just put this in your water. Same thing goes for the cheese. Zero it out. We're going to do grams, 28 grams again. It will always be 28 grams. That's what an ounce is. And you just keep going till you reach your 28. 29. 28, there we go. And you have your 1 serving. It's very simple to weigh things out. I think people get a little bit stressed thinking, I have to weigh everything out. That took me 2 seconds. If you're having pasta, you're pretty much only weighing out the pasta and the pasta sauce. And if you've had chicken, 3 things. It's not really that difficult. It takes seconds. Now let's talk if you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed. Some people tend to feel this way because change could be hard for some. Think of it as buying a new phone and having to learn how to use it. It could be hard the first couple days. You feel like, oh, I'll never get used to this. A week later, you're using it like your old phone. So give it some time. The first 2 to 3 days, don't expect it to be extremely simple. Yes, it'll be a little bit different, new, time to get adjusted to it. However, keep in mind the awesome thing about these apps is they save your foods. So yes, the first time when you have to start tracking everything, it feels like, oh my God, I have to do this for the rest of my life. It takes forever. But honestly, you just have to track those eggs or whatever you put in once. And then after that, the next day you have those eggs, that information will already be stored. You just have to put how many servings you've had. So through time, it only gets easier and easier. The more your app fills up with foods you eat regularly, the easier it's gonna get. It now only takes me about 5 minutes to plan out my entire day, and I usually don't have to look at the app again unless I just need to remind myself of what I'm eating that day. So in the future, this will become very simple for you. Don't stress about it too much now. Know that every day it will get much more simple. Nutrition is key, and this is why I give everybody a free week or 2 to work on nutrition. Because without your nutrition set, you can do all the workouts in the world and not see progress. I've worked with many people who've been working out for years and years and intense, and they haven't seen progress, and it's because you don't have your nutrition down. So this is very important to get down, understand, and be consistent with. And by consistent, I mean reach those calories every single day. The calories given to you are given to you specifically for you to reach your goals. If you are on fat loss, they are already set for fat loss. No need to be under them. Do not fear the food. Eat the amount given to you. By staying consistent every day, eating the same amount, 2 or 3 weeks into your journey, when your progress does start to slow down, maybe for some, not always for everyone, everybody's body is different, I can easily go in there and tweak your numbers just slightly. However, if you're not already reaching those numbers, by me tweaking them, it's not going to help you one bit. Your body works best when it's consistently given the same amount of food every single day. Then you go in and you reduce the calories by, let's say, 30, 40. Then your body can start to make changes. But let's say you've been yo-yoing your diet, which is a big no-no. If you've been over 50 calories, under 50 calories, over 80 calories, under 80 calories. I can't go in there and make any adjustments to help you move forward because you haven't been consistent. When I track, to tell you honestly, I tell everybody you can be about 20 calories under or over. But when I track for myself, that is a big fluctuation, and I never do that. I try to stay within 5 calories of my set calories, and this is so that when I decide to lean, or in my case bulk, I can easily make that adjustment and feel it in my body in 2-3 days. So if you want to have these kind of results, if you want to get progress and the best progress, you need to reach your calories. If you want to continue getting the best progress and see change happening continuously, you need to be consistent. This way I can work with you on fixing your nutrition as you go along. The only thing that really needs to be altered is your nutrition. When I lean or bulk, my workouts never change. They stay consistent. The only difference is my nutrition. This is why I urge you guys, please reach those calories. They're given to you for a reason. You must trust it. I know a lot of you have been under eating and you're not used to this amount of food. But if you've bought my program, you've made a little bit of research about me, you've learned a couple things about me, and it's that food is the key. A lot of people have this misconception of food. They don't understand that it is crucial. You cannot run a car on empty. You cannot run your body on empty. Here's a little background as to why. When you do not eat, your body wants to save you. It's going into starvation mode. This means that it will first slow down your metabolism because it wants to preserve what you have. Now it's going to make you start storing fat. And lastly, when you're still not feeding it enough, it's going to start eating away at your muscle. And as I tell everybody, muscle is what burns fat, not cardio. Cardio is more calories burned. Calories in, calories out. The muscle you have in your body is what eats away at that fat. But if you're eating so few calories that you're pushing your body into eating its own muscle, you are getting bigger, you are storing more fat, you are slowing down your progress. It is completely counterproductive. You must eat enough to still be at a deficit, but allow your body to do what it needs to do. And now let's talk intuitive eating. This is where some people are like, I don't want to track forever. I can intuitively eat. You might see posts like this. This is extremely false. It is impossible to intuitively eat because one day, if you've noticed, you are hungry. Another day, you are stuffed and you haven't even reached your calories. When I was bulking, there were many times I was so full, I was like, oh, I cannot eat another thing. Had I not been tracking, then I would have underate and I would have never reached my body goals. It's important for you to know and see in front of you how many calories you're eating to know if you're consistently reaching these calories. Because days fluctuate, just how you feel fluctuates. One day you want to eat everything in your fridge. The next day you have no craving. This doesn't mean it's okay to not eat. This is a big problem. This is what holds back your progress. And this is what puts your body into starvation mode when you don't feed it. Besides your feelings, put your feelings aside. How full you feel, that does not matter. At the end of the day, what matters is total calories consumed in order to reach your goals. So if you are overeating, those calories, if you're at a surplus, will put you into bulking. If you are severely undereating, those calories will put you into starvation mode. Reach your calories. Those are the perfect calories for you. See it as the perfect recipe to progress. Let's go back to staying consistent. It's so important. I've already stated why your body needs to be fed the same amount, but if you've been on my plan for a week and I ask you, can you please send me screenshots from the past 3 or 4 days? And you are not reaching your calories, you're going to hear that from me. I'm going to tell you, you are not reaching your calories. If you tell me, I don't see progress this week, I will ask for screenshots. If you're not reaching your calories, it'll tell me there. You're going to hear the same thing from me all the time. You haven't reached your calories. If you reach your calories, then we can look into it further and see why you're not getting progress. But if you're taking the time to send me screenshots of your macros and you are intentionally not reaching your calories, you will hear the same response from me. In other words, you don't want to waste your time, you don't want to waste my time. Reach those calories. If you haven't reached them, you know what the problem is, and you got to fix it, which means the next day, just reach them. You already have to eat every day. It's mandatory to survive. Why not eat the amount you need to get the progress you want? Let's talk a little bit more about why you're not seeing progress. Believe it or not, I get a lot of people that get discouraged. They write me, I haven't seen any progress this week, and then I always ask them, how are your macros? You're either not reaching your macros, or they tell me, well, I missed 3 of the workouts, which leaves 2 workouts left, or I missed 2 workouts. Now, if you're not following the plan, you're not going to see progress. It's pretty much that simple. Follow this plan and I guarantee you'll see progress. Do the workouts, eat the amount of food you're supposed to eat, and it's inevitable. You will get progress. But if you're going to be upset and make the plan seem as though it does not work, and then in the end just to tell me, oh, well, I haven't done 2 or 3 workouts. Oh, I haven't been working on my abs. Oh, well, I've had like 2 days where I underate. 2 days, 1 day alone will hurt you, will hold back your progress. So if you're telling me you're not getting progress, I'm going to ask you for your screenshots and I'm going to ask you if you're working out. Now, I can't prevent anyone from lying and saying, yeah, I'm doing all the workouts, but I'm really not. And you're still telling me you're not getting progress. Just see this as you're hurting yourself. You're slowing down your own progress. And it only hurts you in the end, not me, because I will work with you to get you to your goals. I will always work with everyone. If you are doing everything I told you to do and you still don't see progress, which let me tell you now, this is not common at all, I will make adjustments to your nutrition and see if that helps. But if you're following the plan, you could be taking out so much stress, you'll be getting the progress you crave. Follow up with me. I don't really know what's happening if you're not letting me know what's happening. I will always check in with you Saturdays or Sundays, once a week, but if I don't hear back from you, I don't know if you need extra help, if something's not working for you, if you're gaining weight. Now, if you're one of those people that everything is going smoothly, you don't really need to follow up, maybe you just send in your progress photos, but you don't have any questions, that's fine. I'm not saying force yourself to tell me something. Don't worry about that. But if you're the person that's gaining weight or not seeing progress and secretly is very angry or feeling the program is not benefiting them, you must follow up with me weekly. You must tell me, this week I didn't see any progress. I will look into why. I'll check your macros. We will discuss if you're doing all the workouts. We will try to find a problem. We will try to find a solution to the problem. But if I don't hear from you, I don't know that you're struggling. I'm assuming you're one of those people that just doesn't need to follow up. When you come back to me at 6 weeks to get upset, I've gained 10 pounds, my body has gotten worse, or I didn't see any progress on the program, you've kind of waited too long. So make sure to tell me if there's any problems so I can work on fixing them with you. I will always take time to work on trying to find a solution to your problem, if it's nutrition related, fitness related. So make sure you are following up with me. Again, no pressure to do it, but if you need help, I'm here. I'm happy to help. I'd rather you ask me weekly if you have questions instead of yelling at me at 6 weeks and telling me I've gained 10 pounds. Tell me when you gain 2 pounds. Don't tell me when you've gained 10 pounds. That way I could help you guys, because really it makes me happy to see my clients getting progress. This is about me and you. It's not just, here's the program, you're all on your own, bye, toodles. No, I've created it so you can email me, you can text me any time of day, because I want you to succeed. Getting progress photos from you guys, showing me your progress makes me very happy. I want to make you happy, which in turn makes me happy. So follow up.